From Inwood, New York City, welcome to Inwood Artworks On Air. It's where we meet the musicians, writers, theater makers, writers, and filmmakers, and artists of all stripes make their home what we affectionately call upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and today we welcome multi-flutist Tessa Brinckman. Tessa is one half of the bi-coastal duo Caballito Negro, along with multi-percussionist Terry Longshore. The band is known for its creative and compelling performances and draws their name, Little Dark Horse, from Federico García Lorca's poem Canción de Jinete. Their first recording, the EP Songlines, was praised for, quote, absolutely gorgeous tone, understated virtuosity, and being expertly produced and played, end quote, featuring the music of William Kraft, David P. Jones, and Ivan Trevino. Their work features numerous collaborations, commissions, and arrangements. However, Caballito Negro also composes a duo, synthesizing their eclectic musical dialects. Their work as resident artists have been featured at the Festival of New American Music, Britt Music Arts Festival, as well as in many university, theater, and house concerts in the United States. Their latest project, Birds, Bees, and Electric Fish, is a newly commissioned work from Yuri Se, which Inwood Artworks will present soon on October 27th here in Inwood at Good Shepherd Auditorium. We are thrilled to talk to Tessa about her career, the concert, and much more. But first, before we get into all, let me welcome you, Tessa, Inwood Artworks On Air. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me, and we're thrilled to be producing these concerts, so it's great. With your help, it's wonderful.
Sure thing. So before we get to the band and the whole concert situation, could you give us a little personal, we want to explore you personally, so what led you down the path into music yourself?
Gosh, that's a long path. Well, I'm originally from New Zealand, a long time ago, and I've lived in the United States for a long time, and so I've always been interested in the instrument I play, the flute, as well as playing piano. I grew up in a very artistic family, but I was also interested in doing different things with my instruments. So I didn't really want an orchestral career. I wanted to play chamber music because my grandparents would take me to concerts when I was very little, and I loved the music, but I didn't want to be in the audience. I wanted to be on stage, actually.
And here you are.
But I'm my education has been very varied because I'm interested in film and art and in all kinds of philosophies, politics. So all of that sort of affects the musical choices I make and the things I compose and the people I work with. I'm very interested in music being a part of life, which of course it is, right? But it's not this separate thing. And I think classical music, or so-called classical music, has now really started to develop that conscience about being part of the people, right? Not being the separate sort of elite kind of art form. So we're interested in connecting with, our colleagues, with our audiences, connecting with composers. It's all, especially at this stage of the planet's life, connection and empathy means everything.
And it's the universal language, right?
Right. Although the languages itself are so diverse, they can mean different things to many different people, right, in different places.
Right.
But the impulse to make music, to communicate, is universal for sure.
Absolutely. So, what point after you got on stage and you loved it and they loved you, did it occur to you to, you can do this as a vocation, you want to pursue this as a career?
When I realized I didn't really enjoy doing other things as much. Like many artists, I've been, I had in my 20s, I was surviving on part-time work, temporary work, and I hated it. I did it because I had to. But I just love rehearsing. I love the process of creating something with my colleagues, who are my friends. And the search for meaning and to create meaning that is meaningful to the recipients, to the audience, to the listeners, who are, in a sense, actually, they're co-creating with us. So when we're playing, we're conjuring a world that they keep conjuring in their bodies and their minds. So it becomes this total experience. And that's what interests me, actually, is how all our neural systems connect in that moment of playing.
Very cool. And so you've been playing live, but you also provide soundtracks for things as well. I want to bring up, you had a film, the Inwood Film Festival this past year.
That's right. Yeah. So Huzunna, I was inspired by a visit I made to Turkey in 2011. So I wrote it, started writing in 2012 and then started tweaking it. And when I had the score finished, I asked a friend who's an animator and a wonderful artist if he and another collaborator would create an animation. So the three of us teamed up they did the donkey work of the actual technical work of animation, which is very elaborate and time-consuming. But the three of us made decisions aesthetically and narratively about what and drew in many materials. So I actually made a lot of material myself through photos and all kinds of things. They brought in their own drawings. And so it was truly a collaborative effort. And what I love about that particular film is that it has a lot of humor to it about dealing with a very difficult subject, which is the Anthropocene era.
Yeah, not so common talking about these days, right?
Yeah, right. Yes, like we're all talking about it and trying to talk about it in a way that doesn't bog us all down. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was a beautiful film, great animation, fun, and I have to say the audience reacted so favorably to the whole block of films. But it was such a wonderful animated, and the score, of course, was wonderful. So I just wanted to point that out. So if you happen to go to the Inwood Film Festival this past year, you already know you're already in.
Yes, and a plug for the Inwood Film Festival. It's a wonderful festival, for a neighborhood that's so close by, so easy to attend, and so lovingly curated. And I really appreciate that you're putting in all this effort to bring the stuff up here, upstate.
Exactly. What brought you upstate? I wanted to ask that question. I mean, you've been everywhere.
Yeah.
So why did you settle here?
Years ago, I was in New York on my own, and my husband, who I wasn't married to at the time, was also in New York. Actually, as coincidentally at the same time, but we never met. And then I met him in Washington, and then we moved to Oregon, Northern Oregon and Portland, and then we ended up in Southern Oregon, and that's where I worked with Terry for a long time. It's the West Coast, especially rural areas, can be very difficult if you're trying to put together concerts and collaborations and things. We did an amazing amount of work there, but I just felt that artistically, I just really needed to be inside the New York culture. I've always loved New York and New Yorkers. I celebrate that directness and that sense of humor, sense of irony, and also the generosity. So since I've only been here about 2 years, but I feel that New Yorkers, especially artists, are extremely generous and curious, which I think are two salient qualities you need as an artist to survive and make not only yourself thrive, but other people thrive.
Well, our neighborhood is definitely, I always feel it has a small town feel to it. There's a lot of generosity. Yeah. And yes, there's the directness and the iffy, but I think directness in a way that's also, I have to say, helpful.
It's extremely helpful.
And they'll fight over who on the street to give you the proper bus directions.
Totally. This has actually been an experience. Yeah. And I live in Upper Washington Heights, and I really love how families, in spite of whatever financial difficulties they're having, they nurture each other. I really appreciate that because that reflects on the whole community and the way we feel, moving through those spaces.
Yeah. And we keep having wonderful people like you move in who kind of get it and want to keep, as I moved in as well 20 some odd years ago, and keep carrying that torch, and it's that spirit of generosity and community with a capital C that keeps this neighborhood, I think, unique. Right,
it's real community, not the sort of chit-chat community. It's the real sense of people looking out for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So come to Inwood. We'll teach you how to be a good person. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, well, we're glad you're here. And like you said, you're contributing so much between film and also through music, of course, and live performance. So let's turn our focus to Caballito Negro. Mm-hmm. So I guess it formed in Oregon originally.
Yes.
Perhaps I would think so with Terry. And is it currently your main focus or one of many focuses right now?
So it's one of a number of foci, I guess. Yeah, which makes me a bit googly headed, but yes, no, it's important to me for this duo that we have because Terry is a close friend, and we've really tried to explore what it means to be a flute and percussion duo and go beyond, just playing a score and there's the audience and clap, 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 and you go home, So we're interested in intermedia kind of stuff. We're interested in all aspects of music playing, whether it's improvisation, reading from a score, composing, composing for film. So we've tried a lot of different things, and it's been really wonderful. I really appreciate Terry for his, steadfast, curious mind and expertise in what he does. He's brilliant at so many things, not just music. So,
and you're composing and expanding the diaspora of the music as
exactly.
well for flute and percussion.
Exactly, and that's where this piece that the concert that we're playing on the 27th of October is centered around this piece that we commissioned. So in the music world now, because we're all scrabbling for money, we do what's called consortiums, right? So we say to a composer, we want this to get this piece from you, but we're going to ask a whole bunch of people to contribute money, and all of us can play that piece. So it's a compositional consortium. It's a really great way, actually, to make sure that composers are paid, but we also get the piece that we want.
Right.
So we asked Jury Sir, who's this wonderful composer from Princeton, if she would make a piece for probably the world's first 2-flute, 2-percussion quartet. Right, so this hasn't, as far as I know, someone correct me, but I don't think this has been done before.
The phones are lighting up.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But it's a piece that I think is really essential in our repertoire, because of what it does is it encourages us to seek out other duos to collaborate with. So, for example, in a concert, the two duos can play some of their own repertoire, and then they get together for this quartet. Which is a wonderful way to, you're sharing the pain of co-producing,
yes,
right? But you're also highlighting all the people.
Yeah.
You get a lot of, checks and a lot of boxes for that.
Well, I commend you for being kind of like the spark that moved it forward, because, obviously it's your vocation for one, but two is that, it's great to further the art form. And it's great that Yuri also wants to further the art form as well.
Yeah.
And what better way of doing that than being active and present and doing that, being part of it, instead of just saying, well, gee, it'd be really great if someone did something. You're like, no, you actually do it. And so I commend you all for coming together, and we're thrilled and looking forward to where we're going to hear on October 27th.
Yeah. Well, she took the ball and ran with it. So we'd asked for this quartet, right? So she decided this piece would be centered around birds, bees, electric fish, which is the name of the piece, and the concept of Umwelt, and the concept of, which is about biological perception of oneself and other species. And this is such a winning topic, right? Because who can resist animals and nature? And also it speaks to so many people regardless of your culture and language, right?
And age as well.
And age, everybody, how can you not love a bird?
There you go.
So Jury constructed this piece that's actually 28 minutes long. It's a phenomenal piece that encompasses so many different styles, whether it's jazz inflected, avant-garde inflected. We use garbage as part of our soundscape, which is lovely. The amazing sounds come from that, as well as the standard instruments like marimba and vibraphone, multiple flutes from piccolo down to alto flute, ocarinas, and whirly tubes, which are really fun to play. So we explore these worlds, and the cool thing is we invite the audience to experience this blindfolded. So they don't have to. But when we did this concert in Oregon a few months ago, the audience all went blindfold, and they found it very compelling. Actually, they were slightly terrified by the third movement because of what we were doing. But they were really immersed in the sound world, and I think being blindfold, they felt a certain kind of receptivity and vulnerability, and really imagining, right, through our bodies, like what it would be like to be birds, bees.
Yeah, you give yourself
fish.
over to the senses.
Exactly.
That's really great. So just so you let the cat out of the bag, folks. So if you're going to come to the concert on the 27th, guess what? Blindfold will be optional, but it'll be offered.
It's optional,
and
yes.
So you can do that. We'll try to keep our sound person not blindfolded, just so we have. But
yes,
but maybe
that would be a good idea.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's fantastic. And what else is on the program with Birds, Bees, and Electric Fish? So it's not a 26-minute concert, folks.
No, it's not a 26-minute concert. So we've got various duos that we do. So the lovely thing about having two duos, right? So we have our colleagues Lisa Chella and Dustin Donahue, who are both from Baltimore. They're wonderful, incredible musicians. And so, for example, I'm doing a piece by Jane Rigler that's based on Inuit song, and it's this idea that two players are playing so immersed together that the sound becomes one. It's very interesting, beautiful piece. It's been around for a long time, and it's a lot of duos have played it. So I'll be playing that with Lisa. And then Dustin and Terry are playing this piece by Emma O'Halloran, who's an Irish composer. It's called Music for the Small Hours. It combines wood blocks and metal pipes and glockenspiel. And if you know anything about Emma O'Halloran, she has very ambient soundscape that's very, very beautiful. I think the audience will really love it. And I just want to say also that we really feel this whole concert is all ages, family friendly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you come from, you will really understand and love this concert.
And also a bilingual component, right?
Yes, for sure. So, and I'll get to that in one sec, but the other piece is called Number 13, but written by Stuart Saunders Smith for Lisa and Dustin, and it's in homage to her mother, actually, who just passed. Okay. And then there's a piece called Itch by Will Rowe, who's a New York composer. Okay. He wrote it for Terry and I when we performed earlier this year in New York City, and it's in honor of not cockroaches, sorry, but something like that oh God, why am I? Okay, so. Bedbugs, thank you.
Bedbugs.
Yes.
An ode to bedbugs.
Yeah, an ode to bedbugs.
There's a New York insect to have a song written for, apparently, in the 2000s. Yes. I think that would be the one to have.
And this comes from Paul Will's personal experience of having bedbugs earlier on. So he had to write a piece about it. So I'm sure you'll understand. And
I don't think the audience is going to have a blindfold listen to bedbugs. I tell you much right now. Yes. They're going to be more like a horror film.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's wild. Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. We're looking forward to the program.
And and you mentioned the translations. So Carla, who works here, Carla Lopez Special, will be our wonderful interpreter. We want Spanish speakers to be at our concert and happily asking questions in the pre-concert talk about all the instruments, about what the music's about, anything they want to ask. So we'll have Spanish-English interpretation going on.
Pretty awesome. So if you didn't know, for those of you listening who perhaps don't live in the area, we have a very large Spanish population and also an English population as well. And that's what makes our neighborhood so beautiful, the multiculturalism that exists here. And so, and Good Shepherd themselves have a really strong congregation of Hispanic and English-speaking patrons. And so it's really wonderful to have a concert to bring both those factions together.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just increase the sort of linguistic possibilities with concerts. I want to see more of that.
More
be more inclusive. Yeah.
That's the idea, and that's what we've been preaching. Right. So everyone knows Inwood Artworks. Everyone's welcome here all the time. So
exactly.
We're looking forward to it. Yeah, and Carla's great. You can look her up, by the way, on a previous podcast, but I think from last season. And she's a phenomenal opera singer. And so we're glad to have her a part of that as well. Yes. But she's not singing. She's not going to sing.
No, but she's a lovely person.
Yes,
and
exactly.
She's been doing our translations for us. So
very cool. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And we should have titled it "Birds, Bees, Electric Fish, and Bedbugs." but we didn't do that. But maybe next time around. Well, it is family friendly, so I want to invite everyone. It's great. You're getting the preview here from Tessa about what to expect on the 27th, which is great because we've never had a podcast leading up to a concert like this before. So I hope you all share this with your friends and family and local community members to come on out on October 27, 2024, 2 p.m. It's a Sunday. It's open to all ages, so look forward to seeing you there. I want to say something else about the concert too. That I think
kids especially will find it really interesting because there's a massive array of instruments. They're not standard instruments. And also, we move around the hall. So we're using the entire space.
Yes.
So it's not going to be your standard, sit there and clap kind of classical concert at all.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And we'll do our best to have a podcast of the concert as well, but they're moving around so much, we may not be able to get them all the time on the camera, okay? But you'll be able to hear it, I promise.
Yeah.
Well, we're thrilled, Tessa. So what's next for you after this concert? Are you going to take this on tour somewhere else? Is there any more opportunities to catch you all in New York?
Well, not in New York, but we actually this concert is part of a mini tour. So we're playing at the Livewire Festival in Princeton with the same repertoire,
right.
And then we come to New York City, and then literally 2 days after that we play in Princeton and we're also playing 3 quartets that were written specially for us by Princeton composers, including Jason Troting, who plays in percussion. Fabulous pieces. So already they've increased the repertoire for 2 flute, 2 percussion quartets, which is amazing.
So folks, if you like what you hear on the 27th, you can journey out to Princeton, maybe a 1.5 hour drive or so.
Yeah, and it'll be different pieces, and they're going to be amazing pieces. In fact, one of the pieces is by a woman called Hope Litwin, and she's writing pieces for us that involve some kind of jacket, which is the instrument. Oh. Yeah, I know. So we haven't seen it yet.
Well,
we don't know
garbage,
what it is.
You got junk, you got jackets. So
exactly.
I mean, producing Bobby McFerrin, the beatbox folks.
You will not be bored.
Body percussion, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. So we're so fortunate to have you in the community, and we're looking forward to the concert and seeing the whole gang out there performing. Where can we send people to find out more like the Princeton concert? Do you have a website you could send people to?
Absolutely. So there's caballitonegro.com. There's also my personal website, tessabrinckman.com. There's terrylongshore.com.
Just keep on Googling, you'll find them, okay, folks?
If you Google Birdsby's Electric Fish, you will find all kinds of websites referencing that. And I also want to give a shout out to the granting organizations that allowed us to do this concert in Inwood. Chamber Music America gave us a grant to do this, and also UMES, LMCC grant to help us do this, because this is a massive setup and a massive amount of preparation.
Yep.
So, it takes horses and resources to put it together.
So you want to be a producer, kid, huh? It's easy, right? No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
No.
But kudos. I'm glad we can make this happen up here.
Yes, I really appreciate your help.
You betcha. So, Tess, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
You betcha. And so, listeners, we hope to see you on the 27th of October. Thanks again for Tessa for joining me on this Artist Spotlight edition of Inwood Artworks On Air. Again, it's where we meet the musicians, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes to make their home here in Northern Manhattan. Many thanks to the Church of Good Shepherd here for hosting us, and to HeightSites.com for uptown promotional support. You can support On Air and all of our programming by making a tax-free donation at inwoodartworks.nyc/donate or via Venmo at Inwood Artworks. Be sure to follow us on social media to keep up all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, FilmWorks Al Fresco, live performances, pop-up art galleries, and so much more. Inwood Artworks On Air is proud to be supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council. And Inwood Artworks programming is made possible by the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of the Office of the Governor and the New York State Legislature. From the top of Manhattan and the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims for Inwood Artworks On Air.